All right, so today we're going to dive into something a little different, something that's, I think, causing a lot of conversation. Let's just say that
Yeah.
we are cracking open the playbook of pickup artists.
Okay.
You've probably heard of these self-proclaimed gurus of attraction,
Right.
and you've sent us a fascinating mix of material to unpack here.
Yeah.
We've got a Spanish PUA guide, some really heated forum debates online,
Wow.
even some YouTube links.
Interesting.
It's like this whole hidden language all about seduction.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I want to make one thing really clear.
Okay.
We are not here to give you a lesson in manipulation.
Right.
The goal today is to analyze the psychology behind these tactics.
Yeah.
We want to figure out what's genuinely useful
Yeah.
and what's just plain unhealthy.
I see. Yeah, that's a good distinction.
Yeah.
It's definitely a complex mix we're dealing with here. Social strategy, psychology, and let's be honest, some pretty outdated ideas about men and women.
Yeah, it's like they're speaking a different language.
It is.
This guide, for example, talks about stallion mindsets,
Oh, wait.
approaching women like they're prizes to be won.
Right.
I even had to brush up on my Spanish for this one.
Wow. It's interesting you bring up the language because that's no accident.
Okay.
It actually reveals a core assumption in this world.
Mm.
The idea that men are inherently the pursuers,
Yep.
women are the pursued, and that confidence, or at least the appearance of it, is the key to success.
Interesting.
They frame these interactions in this very calculated way,
Mm-hmm.
talking about winning and losing as if human connection is some kind of game. Yeah. And that really comes through in the advice they give.
How so?
Well, they jump from suggesting cheesy pickup lines, like telling a woman, you have a good image,
Oh, boy.
to basically advocating for grabbing her attention on the dance floor.
Wow.
It's a pretty jarring mix.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be really careful because that line between genuine confidence and a sense of entitlement can get very blurry very quickly.
Yeah.
Some of these tactics completely disregard a woman's consent and her right to set boundaries.
Yeah, it's like that story in the guide about approaching a woman while she's sunbathing.
Oh, I remember that one.
They present it as this bold, attractive move.
Right.
But honestly, who wants to be interrupted when they're just trying to relax in the sun?
It just feels intrusive, doesn't it?
Feels so intrusive.
It highlights something really crucial about this whole mindset.
Okay.
Instead of seeing a woman as an individual with her own thoughts and feelings, they're reducing her to an object to be won,
Right.
whether she's interested or not.
Wow.
This power dynamic is at the heart of what makes these tactics so problematic.
It's fascinating, though, because they talk a lot about this confidence being key,
Right.
this stallion mentality,
Okay.
which on the surface might actually sound empowering to some guys.
Oh, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
how they hook you in.
Right.
But if you look a little closer, this need to be a stallion often stems from a place of insecurity.
Okay.
It suggests that a man's worth is solely determined by his ability to attract women.
It's like they're saying, if you follow these steps, you'll finally be in control. You'll finally be the man you're supposed to be.
Exactly. And that's a lot of pressure to put on anyone.
Right.
It sets up this unrealistic expectation that external validation, particularly from women, is the key to happiness and self-worth.
And that brings us to another interesting point.
Okay.
This guide is full of these really specific techniques,
Like what?
especially when it comes to texting.
Oh, right?
They call it text game.
Yeah.
Basically, a set of rules for how to message women in a way that's supposed to make you irresistible.
Oh, interesting. And that's a perfect example of how this mindset tries to turn human connection into a formula.
Yeah.
It reduces communication, something that should be natural and spontaneous, to a series of calculated moves.
Yeah, it feels almost robotic, doesn't it?
It does.
Like there's this script you're supposed to follow instead of just being yourself.
That's exactly the point.
Really?
It's all about creating an illusion of control and scarcity. Don't text back right away. Use these pre-written lines.
Wow.
The goal is to make yourself seem more desirable by playing on those insecurities and anxieties.
I get that. I mean, playing hard to get, that's a classic move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there some element of strategy involved in dating no matter what?
Sure.
I mean, everyone wants to present their best self, especially in those early stages.
Of course, but there's a big difference between being mindful of how you communicate
Okay.
and engaging in calculated manipulation. A genuine connection comes from authenticity, honesty, and most importantly, mutual respect, not from some predetermined formula.
And yet, judging by these online forums you sent,
Yeah.
a lot of guys seem to buy into this formula approach.
Right.
They're bragging about how these techniques work like magic,
Oh, boy.
talking about women in this really dehumanizing way.
And that's one of the most concerning aspects of this whole ideology.
Okay.
It objectifies and dehumanizes the very people they claim to be attracting.
Right.
They reduce women to conquests,
Wow.
to numbers in a game,
Right.
instead of seeing them as individuals with their own complex thoughts and feelings.
It's like their self-worth hinges on how many women they can win over,
Exactly.
not on building real, meaningful connections.
And that kind of mindset is not only disrespectful, but also incredibly limiting. It prevents them from experiencing the richness and depth of genuine human connection.
You know, it's a shame because buried beneath all this bravado
Right.
and frankly toxic advice,
Yeah.
there are glimmers of useful information in these sources.
Okay.
For example, one guy talks about the importance of overcoming your fear of rejection,
Sure.
which, let's be honest, is something everyone struggles with at some point.
Absolutely. And another thread emphasizes the importance of reading social cues,
Yeah.
which is essential for any kind of social interaction, not just romantic ones.
Right.
These are valuable life skills that can benefit everyone.
So how do we salvage those nuggets of wisdom without falling into the trap of the PUA mindset?
Right.
How can we reframe those skills in a way that's healthy and ethical?
It's all about shifting your perspective.
Right.
Instead of seeing something like overcoming your fear of rejection as a tool to manipulate or conquer women,
Right.
think of it as building your own confidence and resilience.
Okay.
It's about stepping outside your comfort zone and accepting that not everyone will be interested, and that's okay.
That makes sense. It's about personal growth, not about manipulating someone else into giving you validation.
Exactly. And the same goes for mirroring someone's energy, which this guide presents as a manipulation tactic.
Right.
Reframed, it can actually be about practicing empathy and active listening. Instead of trying to mimic someone's behavior to get something from them,
Right.
you're making a genuine effort to understand and connect with them on a deeper level.
It's about building a bridge of understanding,
Yes.
not trying to find loopholes in a system.
Precisely. And that's what it all boils down to. Building genuine connections based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared values.
It makes you wonder then, why is this pickup artist content so popular in the first place? What is it about their message that resonates with some men, even if it's built on shaky ground?
Well, I think it's a complex issue with several contributing factors.
Right.
For some men, it might be the allure of easy solutions
Right.
in a world where dating can feel overwhelming and confusing.
It's like they're promising a shortcut to confidence and intimacy, even if those shortcuts ultimately lead to dead ends.
They're essentially selling a commodified version of masculinity, one that equates success with sexual conquests and reduces women to objects to be attained.
And sadly, that message taps into some deeply ingrained societal expectations.
But it does.
There's still this pressure on men to be the pursuers,
Right.
to be alphas,
Yeah.
to measure their worth by their romantic successes. It creates a breeding ground for this kind of manipulative thinking. It's like they're being told that their value is directly tied to their ability to attract women, which of course is just not true.
It's a very narrow and ultimately unfulfilling definition of masculinity.
Yeah.
It ignores so many other qualities that make someone a valuable partner, a good friend, a decent human being. Empathy, kindness, vulnerability, a sense of humor.
Qualities that are probably much more attractive in the long run than any manipulative technique.
Exactly. Authenticity will always be more attractive than artifice.
Right.
And those genuine connections, the kind that last, those require mutual respect, empathy, a willingness to be vulnerable.
So where does that leave us? If this pickup artist approach is so flawed, where can people find healthier models for navigating attraction and relationships?
Well, the good news is there are tons of resources out there that promote healthy communication, consent, and emotional intelligence.
That's great to hear. Are we talking books, podcasts, workshops? What are we talking here?
All the above, actually. There are some incredible books out there that break down the psychology of attraction and relationships in a way that's insightful and ethical.
Any favorites you recommend?
Oh, I can list dozens.
Yeah.
But a few that come to mind are Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, which explores different attachment styles in relationships.
Okay.
And then there's Hold Me Tight by Sue Johnson, which delves into the science of adult attachment and offers really practical tools for building stronger bonds.
Those sound great. We'll
Yeah.
definitely have to link those in the show notes for our listeners.
Absolutely. And beyond books, there are tons of podcasts out there that offer really insightful conversations about dating, relationships, personal growth.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, if someone is really struggling, therapy can be an incredibly valuable tool for exploring these issues in a safe and supportive environment.
Absolutely. And it's not just about fixing problems.
Right.
It's also about personal growth and building those healthier relationship patterns.
It sounds like the key takeaway here is that there are no quick fixes, no magic formulas when it comes to human connection.
Exactly. It takes time, effort, and a willingness to be open and vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's about treating others with respect, understanding their boundaries, and focusing on building genuine connections instead of viewing these interactions as a game to be won.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive with a final thought for our listeners.
Okay.
We've spent this episode exploring the world of pickup artistry, dissecting its tactics and really uncovering the flaws. But we also know that the world of dating is constantly changing,
Always.
especially with the rise of online dating apps and social media.
Oh, for sure.
So here's a question for you all to think about. In this age of swiping left and crafting the perfect online persona, is pickup artistry, at least in its traditional form, becoming obsolete?
Interesting.
Or is it simply evolving to fit this new digital landscape? Something to think about as you navigate this ever-evolving world of human connection.
Definitely.
Until next time, remember, be yourself, be kind, and stay curious.